Hashem Svasai Tiftach Upi Hagita Lasecha. We're now in the final parak of Ezra. In this parak, in parak 10, we have Ezra who's literally praying on and weeping and crying and remember, we know how he davens. He's completely on the floor with his hands up in the air, and there's a great crowd of people now, anashim, vinashim, v'yaladim, and they're crying too. Men, women, children, everyone's looking and they're crying. Now, why are the women there? Well, we have an understanding why they're there. They're there because, as much as it was, just the men, but they're there because they're part of and the kingpin of the society, and they're all gathered, and they're crying. This is the next time that they cry. Remember, the last time that we have that they're crying, what were they crying about? They were crying about the idea. The Zikanim were crying, oh, woe is to us. We remember how it was from before. Now, isn't that the epitome of what they're crying now? They're crying because they realize, woe is to us. Look what we've become. Look what we've turned into. We want to go back to how it was before, which is really the same kind of crying. This idea of, just really feeling badly about what happened. Now, Shechania ben Yechiel, he gets up and he says, Anachnu ma'alnu be'elokeinu. We have really sinned. We messed up. V'neshev nashim nachrios ba'amei haaretz. And he calls out, he says exactly what we've been doing. We brought foreign women into our homes from the land. And ba'ata yesh mikvah l'Yisrael alzos. So he does the epitome of tshuva. He says exactly what they've done wrong. And now we are going to yesh mikvah l'Yisrael alzos. There is still hope. Either the word mikvah is actually really interesting. On the one hand, it's that there is hope. On the other hand, that's exactly what a mikvah does. A mikvah cleanses. So we are going to cleanse ourselves. We have a tshuva process. Now, who is this Shechania ben Yechiel? So in fact, he was a very important person. He was one of the Gedolim. He wasn't actually, many say, we don't know about him before, we don't know him after, and he's not written down later on in terms of the guilty parties. He didn't actually do anything wrong, but he's owning it. Now, that is a beautiful midah, and we know, there's that famous story. I remember when I was in Israel, actually for the year, and somebody made kiddush, and on purpose he spilled. So why did he spill? Because just in case there might be a guest who spills, he wanted to make sure that he was the first one to spill so that nobody feels bad. So here, Shechania, he's perhaps taking on this idea of just good midos, and that he's owning it and he's taking responsibility so the actual perpetrators are not going to feel badly, and they'll do tshuva in their own way in their own time, and it won't be something. So he owns it. Anachnu ma'alinu ve'elokeinu. He literally bullets exactly what it is. He doesn't just say we were bad, but he says why we were bad. But then he also gives the repair, which is we're going to be in the mikvah. We're going to do better. We're going to do exactly what we are supposed to do to get ourselves out of this. So, and not only that, we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to swear, because there's going to come a time that we're not, the same idea of what happened at Har Sinai, that there is a lot of midbar. There's a lot of time where we are not spiritually uplifted, where we're not feeling it in the moment. Remember, Galus is a very long period of time, but there are times within that period where we have a spiritual revelation. We go to a good cheer, we feel really good. But so you can just enjoy, or you can do something about it. And so here what he's saying is, we're all inspired, but we're going to make a bris, we're going to swear, we're going to sign on the dotted line, we're going to do something. And what are we going to do? Lahotzi kol anashim v'hanolad mehem ba'atzas Hashem. That we are going to get rid of all of these women, the intermarriage that we have done, and all of the children that have been born from this. We're going to get rid of that. And we're going to obey. We're going to do the ya'aseh. What does that remind us of? Na'aseh v'nishma. We're going to once again accept HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Torah, and we're going to take it upon ourselves. This is their Na'aseh v'nishma moment. We have been tying in for the entire Sefer how Moshe Rabbeinu was the leader of the Jews in the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim and the time of Kabbalas HaTorah. Here too, Ezra, we said he could have been Moshe Rabbeinu, and he is inspiring the Jews to do what? To say, Ya'aseh, we will take on. Again, take responsibility, everybody. We are with you. Act and really do something. Don't just say v'nishma, but you're doing the aseh. And that's really significant. And so he gets up. He is, perhaps the representation of what the whole klal has to go to, where they have to be, where their headset is. And so Vayakam Ezra. And so he gets up. And he puts into practice officers who are Kohanim and Leviim, L'chol Yisrael, Lasot Kazavar Hazeh, and they're going to be in charge to make sure that everybody swears and everybody is going to act, that they're going to act accordingly, and they all swear, and everyone, there are the Sarei Kohanim, the Leviim, and Yisraelim. Again, a level of achdas, a resolve. They want to be better. They want to take it on. They're swearing. And so then, Vayakam Ezra mipnei beis Elokim vayilach. And so he goes. And when he goes to where? To the chamber of Yochanan ben Eliashiv. And there, he doesn't eat anything. He doesn't drink anything. He's still in mourning. He's still, the representation. He is putting on the tshuva show so that everyone can see. And that's exactly what he does. He issues a proclamation. And it's now not only just going to be what the few have said, but now, Vayiviru kol b'Yehuda v'Yerushalayim, b'chol b'nei hagola likabetz b'Yerushalayim. How do we really get geula? How do we really make it so that it's something that is owned? Every single person has to come. And he says, you have 3 days. Again, it reminds us of the 3 days in preparation for Har Sinai. And in the 3 days, every single person must come. If not, your property is going to be confiscated. He's going to put everybody in chayrim. And he's going to then exclude everyone. You will be excommunicated. Your property is going to be confiscated, and you will be in chayrim if you do not come. That's how important this is. And so that's exactly what happens. Every single person comes, and for 3 days, and it happens in Cheshvan. Now, what's significant about Cheshvan in Kislev? What's significant about Kislev is that we don't have a Hanukkah yet, so it's not like it's a special month. And again, these are going to be the last moments in Nach that the months are called by their biblical origin, so they're just called by their numbers. But everybody comes, and what's significant is that it's the time of the rain, and so it's cold outside. It's not pleasant outside, and so they're all there, and they're sitting there in the house of Hashem, and they're literally freezing because of these rains. And what's interesting is, what's significant about the rain? So again, rain represents brachas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give brachas, and he gave them brachas. He gave them Eretz Yisrael back. He gave them the Beis HaMikdash back. But you know what happens if you're not a conduit for bracha? Then brachas don't help you. And so here, it's interesting that the brachas themselves are not helpful, because what's happening is they're getting brachas, and it's hurting them, and they're trembling. And they're no longer connected with the rain, meaning they're no longer connected with their brachas. And Ezra gets up, and he says to them, you really did bad. You did bad, ma'altem v'tashifu nashim nachrios. You brought into your homes women that are foreign. The kedusha of your home is tarnished by the influences that you brought inside. And that is truly Ashmas Yisrael. That is the guilt of Yisrael. And so what I want you to do is, Va'atad now, Tnu Toda Hashem. You have to give a korban. And you have to do exactly, and you have to separate from these women and from all of that. You must separate. Again, Hibald Lu. You have to separate. We are Anshe Kadoshim. We need to have a separation. That is what Kadosh is. Kadosh means separate. Ve'anu kol hakal ve'imnu kol gadol kain, yes. Kain kidvaracha aleinu lasos. We will do everything. And so it's not one person that's taking on the responsibility for the kahal. Now it's the whole kahal. And the kahal is doing that in one kol gadol, one voice, exactly the way that they accepted, now it's not the figurative one voice, but it's the actual one voice. And that's what they do. Now they're freezing. And so it's impossible. They can't stand here for very long. And they understand that they've done something bad, but they can't be standing in the open like this. And so basically what they do and they decide is that the officers are going to be in charge, and all the townspeople, everyone is going to go, and it's all going to get cleaned out. There's going to be scheduled times. They're going to meet with the elders. They're going to meet with the judges, and they're going to fix this situation. And it's a tough situation. Lahashiv charon af Elokeinu mimenu, because Hashem is angry. Ad l'davar hazeh. This is really, really a bad thing that they did. They brought foreign influences into a place of kedusha, and essentially that really represents what they're up to. They did not build the Beis Hamikdash as holy people. They built the Beis Hamikdash as wanting to be holy people, but it never permeated. It was only surface level. It was only on the physical. It wasn't on the spiritual. And Ezra, recognizing that, has brought them back to a spiritual epiphany, to a spiritual growth. Because what is Geula without the spirituality of it? And how does Ezra do that? He does that by being a representation. He does it with, the drama, and he doesn't point fingers, and he teaches them in a beautiful way. And he teaches them out of love for them and of love for the Torah. And he understands that there is not going to be this clarity anymore. Remember, Nevuah is gone. There is not going to be Nevuah. And what is going to stand in the place until the end of time? That's going to be the Torah. Getting from your Rabbanim, understanding exactly where a person is at can only be through the Torah, through the Mesorah. That's why he sets up the Anshe Knesset Agdola. That's why he is showing the power of tefillah, the power of Torah, the power of following exactly. And so he keeps on reliving what happened during the time of Matan Torah as perhaps, a revival, so to speak, but also it gives credence to exactly what he's doing. And then it was Yonatan ben Asael and Yechizkiah ben Tikva. They stood and they remained there with Meshulam and Shabtai, Halevi, and they, everyone. Now, what happens is, the last part of the parak is now, so after they stay and hang around, now what's going to happen is that there's going to be a listing, and there's going to be a listing of a little over 100 of the actual people who married Nashim Nachrios, and we list them. Now, among this list is Yochanan, who was the Kohen Gadol, which means that his descendants were people who sinned. You can see just how deeply the sin really was, and how much it permeated that the Kohen Gadol's family were involved with this. But it lists them. Now, why does it do that? So these people, they agreed to do tshuva. And so on the one hand, you can say, well, now they're, down in infamy for the rest of time. But the bigger picture is no. They were the ones that are Baalei tshuva. They're the ones that do tshuva, and they do a full tshuva. And they gave their word, and they got rid of their wives. They acknowledged their guilt. They offered a korban, and that's the end. So the idea is that no, not that it should be something that looks so badly, but kol ela nasu nashim nachrios v'ish mahem nashim v'yasimu banim. All these people did wrong, but the good news is that they could correct it. We end, and that's the end of Ezra. We end the Sefer with the idea of we're human, and Ezra acknowledges that. But he is the premier leader. He doesn't judge. He just teaches. He doesn't make anybody feel worse than he himself is feeling. He is on the floor crying. He's crying with the people, and so that they can cry, that they can realize they're wrong, but not in a way that is ego bursting, but rather in a way that scaffolds them, that allows them the knowledge that Gullus is going to be really, really dark. And until we have the ultimate geula, which he really wanted, we have to be both physically ready for and also emotionally ready to take on the beautiful Shechina and the Beis HaMikdash. He got so much and we got so far, but ultimately, without the real emotionality, without the spirituality, without the geschmack, that beautiful house is not going to do anything. And without the geschmack, the people in Gullus were not going to be moving. And without the real feeling, and that's very hard because he recognizes that we're at a critical point. We're no longer going to have lightning bolt strike or the Urim and Tumim. No one's going to let us know exactly what we're doing right or exactly what we're doing wrong, except for the Torah. And so he is Ezra. He is La'azor, to help. He is there to help us in Gullus understand that it's very easy to derail. But how do we do tshuva? It's very easy to face tough times because we can daven. It's very, and to show us how to stand up for bad temptations, for bad influences. He will not go down. He will not allow for bad influences to create and build the foundation of the Beis HaMikdash. He will go into the lion's den, so to speak, and fight for the Jews if he needs to. He really recognizes all the brachos that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, every single one, and he keeps thanking Hashem and Baruch Hashem and Emir to Hashem, because he realizes that he is a walking Torah, and as long as we have the Torah, we have a connection. And he elevates that by setting up tefillah. He elevates that by setting up brachos. He elevates that by helping the people along through Kiddush, Havdalah, recognizing you need to separate, you need to have ritualistic ways, but ultimately all of that is not going to benefit us in Gullus unless we infuse it with a heart, and we infuse it with kavana. We infuse it with not just building the buildings and having our names on the buildings and making another Sefer Torah and having another party and doing another charity event. But unless it's really with a feeling, unless there's the geschmack and that is what is needed, and that can only come through not our own ideas, but through the Torah. And so he recreates a Kabbalah Torah, many, many, many years after the first one, because he knows that the Jews need that. They need that spiritual revival. And that's only the best way to live in Gullus. The only way is to yearn to be the best that we can be, to follow in the ways of the Torah, to follow and to understand that we're human and we fall. And just like our ancestors fell, we fell and we continue to fall. But in order for us to get up, we have to just follow with the strength of the Torah, the strength of our leaders, to hold on to the Masorah, to respect the generations above us because they've seen more and they're higher, and to just know that Ezra, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves and just wants to help, and Emir Hashem, we will have that. Thank you for taking this journey on Sefer Ezra. It is a beautiful journey. We, as people of Gullus, people who live in the Gola, it definitely resonates. It's also, it's a very special experience to be able to go through the history that we didn't actually understand as much, little details that have really made the difference in understanding just how precious every moment of Eretz Yisrael is, just how precious every moment of the Kotel is, just how precious every moment of and we should yearn for Mashiach. I want to thank Rabbi Rosner for his words, Rabbi Trump, and all the people of the OU Women's Initiative for all of their input in creating Ezra. And for this time, we are living through very, very, similar times, parallel times to the time of Ezra. We have opportunities and political moves that are being made that are very pro-Jewish. Emir Hashem, just to remember, I want to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Thank you, Hashem, for giving us all of these opportunities, for allowing us the benefits of Eretz Yisrael. And Emir Hashem, all of us should be zocha to be able to really make a Shivat Zion, but not just the kind that you make an aliyah. That is very special. But we also want that when we get there, and that when we're in the opportunity, that it's not just a physical move, but of course, what we learn from Ezra is that it's not just a physical move. Mir Hashem, we should all be able to be spiritually moved to the point where we really can own the Shiva Tzion and B'mihera B'Yameinu.